Good morning, everyone. What a wonderful day to be here to worship the Lord, wouldn't you say? I was thinking briefly a few minutes ago that 23 years ago, I was in a totally different predicament. 23 years ago, I was in hospital, getting ready to give birth to my number 2. So happy birthday, Joel. You know, yeah. Children are a blessing. Women are a blessing. Men are a blessing. We're all a blessing for each other and for God as God blesses us. So welcome here today. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Brigitte Perik and I'm currently serving Ashfield Church as an elder. I've been attending this church for, I think I've hit my 20-year mark, and I'm very happy to be here. And the reason why I'm still here is because I still see Ashfield as a very active and giving part of my life, and I want to serve my church as best I can. This morning, the title is Pursuit of Excellence. The Pursuit of Excellence. How many of you want to be excellent? Can I see a show of hands? How many of you aren't so sure? Yeah. How many of you didn't answer? Have you ever wondered why we have an International Women's Day? Because we need it? Why do we need it? Why is it that in the 21st century we have to have a day that reminds us of the worth of a woman? Why is it that people wear white in order to remind us that domestic violence is not appropriate and unacceptable? Why is it that in many cultures women are still treated today in the 21st century as second-class citizens? This week I saw Julia Bishop, one of our few female politicians who at the moment seems to have her head screwed on properly, said something to the effect of that there is no country in the world where a woman earns equal to a man in every aspect, in every field. There is no country in the world. So even in our first world countries, we don't have that. Why is it even in Christian churches, are we a Christian church? Yes. That women are not treated equally within the church, even though we say that Christ died for all? Now you all know what I'm talking about here, don't you? Women, unfortunately, aren't given the same opportunities, even in Christian churches, as what you would expect. Unfortunately, we're still struggling with the ordination of women, something that's huge and yet still doesn't allow women to be equal to men. You know, it's interesting that it's only been in the last century or so that women have been given the right to vote. So obviously somewhere, someone has accepted that they can't vote and someone else has made them think that they can't vote. Takes two to tango, right? Now turn to the person next to you and ask them, why did things get so bad? Some of you didn't listen to that instruction. And now turn to them and say, is there an answer? Do we have an answer? And the answer is simple. How did things get so bad, or why did things get so bad? The thing is, let's go all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Yes, Eve. Now, in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16, and I'm going to quote from the New Living Translation, let's have a quick look at how the story goes down. So, Eve eats the fruit and sins. She then uses all her charm to convince Adam, which probably didn't take much, and he sinned. They hide until God finds them, and he asks them what happened. Well, Adam blames Eve, Eve blames the serpent, And according to the text, there are consequences for everyone. There's a consequence for Adam, there's a consequence for Eve, and there's a consequence that the snake will ultimately die. Now, in the fallout of all of this, how is Eve perceived? In the fallout, she is perceived as the weaker, the one that fell first. And as a result of that, she becomes second to man. I don't believe that that was God's original intention. It says in Genesis 3, chapter 3, verse 16, "Then he said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth." Now I can testify to that one. And this next bit is the bit that really grabs my interest. And this is reading from the Living Translation. It says, and you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. And so we have now this constant battle between the sexes, where one tries to control the other and the other one tries to manipulate the other. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes. Now, this verse indicates or implies many things. Now, I don't know about you, but I believe that God allows us to bear the results or the consequences of our own doing. So we do something wrong, unfortunately, we have to wear that consequence. I believe that the writer, when he says things like, I will sharpen the pain and I will curse and I will do this, that it's not actually God making that as something bad. It's just, this is how it's going to go down. God doesn't curse us or want anything bad for us, ever. Now, unfortunately, in the eyes of humanity, Eve's decision has affected all of us. And it continues on through into the New Testament. And I refer to Colossians 3, verses 18 to 19. Instruction for Christian household, again from the New Living Translation. I know sometimes people like to read, the King James and the Old King James, but these newer versions give us different insights, which are very, very interesting. Amen. Instructions for Christian households. Wives, submit to your husbands, as is fitting for those who belong to the Lord. See, it hasn't changed much. The wife is still subservient. Many stop there and imply that women are to serve and be second. But let's not forget that the text continues and says, husbands, love your wives and never treat them harshly. Interesting. Ephesians 5:23, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. Again, this same thinking. Now, okay, sometimes there has to be a leader, but the leadership can change depending on the circumstance. Verse 24, now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives must submit to their husbands in everything. But 25 says, husbands, love your wives. It's interesting that men have to be told often to love their wives, isn't it? As Christ loved the church and died or gave himself up for her. It's not a street where women just get railroaded into becoming the second or the slave. It's a love relationship where one serves the other equally. Now let's just talk about what these texts mean. Remember that God is a God of love. He created men and women equal. How many sermons have you heard, have I heard, about how God created Eve from what part of the body? The rib. Why did he use the rib and not the foot? I don't know what you said, but I'm going to tell you the answer. Okay, we had to get a technical answer because that's where the stem cells are. Yes, very good. But also because it's equal. It's not below him, it's not above him, it's equal to him and close to his heart. Now, how many examples are there of women who were upheld by Jesus and given equal opportunities to Jesus. Many women. Jesus had to uphold women. The reason why he had to uphold women is because if he just came to earth and had a relationship with men, where would the women be? Nowhere. We wouldn't be in the churches today. So God came here to serve and to connect with people equally. And that is my belief. Now, there is a problem here, because even though we might believe that, it doesn't work like that in the world. You see, quite often, women treat women badly. Do you know what I'm talking about? Unfortunately, that happens even in the church, where women think that women are only to do certain jobs. I mean, men might think that anyway, but when women start to put each other down, that's not a very loving relationship to have in churches. And I'm grateful that at Ashfield Church we have a very supportive network of women. And I'm very grateful and praise all of you for that. And I pray that that's how we continue moving forward into 2018 and beyond. It's so wonderful to have supportive women, strong women, who help each other out and who have each other's backs. Now, this morning, we talked a little bit, and I'm glad Kimberly didn't steal my thunder. I was biting my fingernails a little bit there. But we then think about the text in Proverbs 31. Who's ever read that before? Proverbs 31. Who has not read that before? Never heard of it? Great. There's a few people that will hear something new today. That's good. Now, Proverbs 31 is given to us and is often referred to as the wife of noble character. Now, in your Bible, Proverbs 31 might have a slightly different title. Does anyone care to share what the title is in yours? Sorry? Virtuous woman, yes, okay. And you know, during the week I went to a Christian bookshop and I asked them for some references about this text, because I thought there's more to it than what meets the eye, just like everywhere else in the Bible. So they showed me shelves and shelves of instruction to how a woman should be, you know, how a good woman should be. And I thought, yep, that's great, got that one, but I want more. There wasn't very much, unfortunately. Because often this text is looked at as at face value. It talks about a woman that a man might want to marry. And that's as far as some people look at it. But let's have a look at this text. It starts off, chapter 31, the sayings of King Lemuel. Now I'm reading this time from the NIV. The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mother taught him. Verse 2, listen, my son, listen, son of my womb. So obviously she has had this child. Listen, my son, the answer to my prayers. This describes the relationship between the mother and son and almost implies that she had prayed for him. It says, do not spend your strength on women, your vigour on those who ruin kings. All right, so it's a mother telling her son. This is, you know, we're talking very serious now. When you go out to find a wife, this is the sort of woman that you should be looking for. Now, I've got a question to the mothers in the audience. Did you have this talk with your son? And did your son listen? Maybe. Well, I'm glad my son listened, but I don't remember having the talk. I guess he just knew it. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigour on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for rulers to crave beer. Now this is outlining acceptable behaviours for leaders. Verse 5, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Don't tell that to most Aussies, okay? Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of those who are destitute. So this is what a king should be doing. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy. The first part entails the kingly responsibilities, and the next part talks about a suitable partner for the relationship. This is about relationships in general. This is not just a mother's advice for her son to find a wife. This is general advice. Just like, we take texts from the Bible and we apply them. Doesn't matter who they were for, but we apply them to our lives because that information is still very meaningful. This information is also for us. It's telling us who we are to be, who we can be, because we can be excellent. This is teaching us what excellent behaviour is all about. Now the next part starts the epilogue, the wife of noble character. Don't you just love it? Women, sit up straight. Now what I'm going to do in this part is I'm going to ask you and I'm going to invite you to give me some information. Okay? So we'll read text by text, and at the end of the text I want you to tell me what sort of character it's talking about, what sort of characteristic it's talking about that the woman has or should have. Okay, so it's still talking now. The mother's telling the son, this is the type of woman that you need to find. Okay? So, verse 10, a wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. So what does that tell you? That she's priceless. How many women here are priceless? Oh, come on, put your hands up. There's only one of us anywhere in the world, ever. So we are priceless. And that goes the same for men. You are priceless too. Your husband, her husband, has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. What's that one telling us? He has full confidence in her. What characteristic does that give her? Trustworthy, excellent. She's trustworthy. Is it important to have a wife or a relationship with someone who is trustworthy? Who thinks no? Who thinks yes? Good. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. What do you think that one is? What characteristic is that about? Sorry? Protective, caring? Loyalty, perfect. Okay. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She works hard. Industrious, skillful, diligent. Verse 14, she is like the merchant ships, bringing food from afar. What's that one talking about? She's a good provider? Businesswoman? Okay, there's one word here, women, we haven't heard yet. Yes, who said it? She is a champion shopper. Hands up all the champion shoppers in the room. Some people are putting up 2 hands. Men, you can answer this one too. Are you a good shopper? I know a few men who are very good shoppers in this room. Okay, number 15. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. What characteristic is that one telling us that she has? You'll have to speak up. Diligence, yep. Responsible, caring. Verse 16, she considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. Sharp businesswoman, excellent. Well, where did she get the money from? Good question. But somehow she made it. Maybe. Verse 17, she sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. That tells us that she is strong and energetic. Verse 18, she sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. She is business savvy. Right? Now, How many of you have ever owned a business? Can you put your hand up? Have you ever owned a business? Do you keep the 9 to 5? No. Often people who have businesses work very hard all hours of the night. Now, it's not just people who own businesses, but there are lots of professionals who work very long hours into the night. There are also people who just work in the night time to catch up on things that they haven't had time to do during the day. But to be industrious is a very positive quality. Verse 19, in her hand, she holds the distaff and grabs the spindle with her fingers. This tells me that she is a hard worker, she's skilled, and she knows what she's doing. Now, verse 20, it says she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. What do you think that one means? Compassionate? Benevolent? Now, you tell me something, and I want you to do this, but please don't hurt the person next to you. Open your arms. How does it feel to open your arms? Sorry? Humbling? When you open your arms to someone, that's showing humility. It's also showing vulnerability. So she is prepared to be vulnerable, to be open to people that she might not know. And as Christians, this is our calling, to be vulnerable, to be humble, sometimes, quite often, to people we don't know. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. What's that one about? I guess when it's cold, when things get tough, she's ready, she's prepared. Sorry? Yes? Okay, now this next text caught my attention because I hadn't really read this, but I've read this chapter many, many times in the last few weeks. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Okay, she's royal. What about the first bit? Why would it even talk about coverings for her bed? Sorry? She's pure in what way? Okay, her mind's on her husband, she makes covering for her bed. What are her values? Fidelity, thank you. Okay, this to me, it is about her looking her best and having everything in order, but it also implies that she is faithful to her husband and that they have a faithful relationship. Now, when you are getting married, now I've been to a lot of weddings in my time, there is always something about faithfulness, isn't there? Being the wife of, I've got to get this right. Anyway, it's about faithfulness. I can't remember the exact words. So this tells me that that is a very important virtue for her. Her husband is respected at the city gate, and he takes his seat amongst the elders of the land, which means that back then the city gate was where all the action happened. It was sort of like the parliament area where people made decisions, where decrees were told. It would have been a very interesting place to be. But because she is so well respected, her husband is well respected as well. She makes linen garments and sells them. Okay, she's talented and, has a good business sense. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. Do we laugh at the days to come? She's prepared. She's got a plan. She has goals. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. So she's always well spoken. Something that, is sometimes a bit of an issue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. So she's not lazy, but this thing about watching over the affairs of who? Oh, her household. What about the household down the street? Is she worried about that one? That's right. Because she doesn't gossip, she doesn't go around looking for information about other people or stories. She is focused on her family. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. She's well praised by her family and well respected. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. She is outstanding. Charm is deceptive, beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So she fears the Lord, or she respects the Lord and has a good relationship with him. Honour for her that her hands, for all that her hands have done, but let her works bring her praise at the city gate. She leaves behind her a positive and empowering legacy. Wow. Now for the twist. Twist? Did someone say twist? Who wants to know what the twist is? As in the twist, not the twisties. I should have actually had some. Now that, I wish I'd thought of it. It's not a fairy tale. The twist is this. The information about the kind of characteristics are for a noble woman, and it's given in the context of a mother telling her son, this is the sort of woman that you are looking for. But, actually, I'm just going to ask a question. What men out here in this room would love a woman like that? Yes. And the rest of you? Would you like a woman like that? Thank you. Some people have a woman like that. Even better. But you see, here comes the twist. Have you ever heard of the expression, birds of a feather flock together? This text also tells us who the husband needs to be, what he needs to be, what he needs to think. Because you see, if you find two people get together and one's on one planet and the other one's on another planet or platform, we have trouble. But if you want a woman like this, or if you want to be a woman like that, you're going to attract people like that into your life. And when you do, that's when life becomes even better. Because that is the excellence that God wants for each one of us, to be this person of excellence, to have all of these characteristics. And now for an even bigger twist. This is not just about the relationship between a man and a woman, because if it was, half of us wouldn't be interested, because not everyone's married, not everyone will marry, some of us are too young to marry, and some of us have been married and aren't going to marry again. But we want to make this relevant. This is not just about a marriage relationship. This is about relationships in general. If you want to have a good friend, if you want to have a good sibling, then you need to be the person of noble character. And this is the excellence that God wants for each one of us in our lives every day. And as we become that person, we have a better understanding of who God is and what he wants for us. And that is real growth, and that is excellence. Now, how do we apply this to our life? Obviously, there's a lot to take in, because I guess for most men, they thought, this is all about women and, what a woman should be like. But now it's about everybody, isn't it? So, how do we apply this to our life? Remember that we are all worthy of God's grace. He made us worthy of his grace. We must be truthful and faithful. We must love others. We must also love ourselves, because if there's no self-respect, we can't respect anybody else. We have to pray for others. Work hard in everything we do. Now, I'm just going to ask you a question. Have you ever played anything at 100%? Whether it's Monopoly, whether it's basketball, whether it's an acting game, charades, have you ever played at 100%? Who has ever given it their all for something? Right. You see, when you play at 100%, that is where excellence is. That's where the gold in life is. That's where the precious moments and the rewards and all the positive stuff happens. And when you start to do that, other people will do that too. Wake up early. Start the day with God. Pray every day. Praise God. Study and learn. Enrich your life with knowledge. Don't think that you already know it all. That's the biggest danger. Be strong and endure hard times. Support other people. Find a husband or a wife or a friend who shares your values and love of God. And if you want something to be changed in your partner, you have to live it first and be that person first and show them how attractive those qualities are. So, are you ready to step up? Are you ready for excellence? You can either choose your old belief or you can start a new one, to believe that you can be excellent. And on International Women's Day, remember that God made women equal to men. That humans have been made equal. We have no weaker sex. God wants us all to be excellent, men and women. It's now your choice. Now it's my prayer for all of us that we all step up out of our comfort zones and pursue excellence. Is this your prayer for you? It's my prayer for you and for me. Thank you.